What's up, guys? This is Jay Al Ghul for Dark Avenger Inc. Plus, answering yet again another mission. Now, this one is going to be awesome. This is from a fellow Dark Avenger Inc. Plus member, the Mountain Vernon Kid, Chris. Awesome reviewer. Does great reviews on here. Does great reviews on his channel. You should go check him out. Show him some love. Now, Chris's mission was um, if you could create a superhero movie for a hero or a team, um, who would it be? Oh, and who would the star be? And you could even, go in depth with like what you would do with the movie. Well, I feel like going like all in this, and I decided instead of choosing a hero, I wanted to choose a heroine from, of course, DC because I'm a huge DC dude. Um, and I'm thinking of somebody who is I've always really liked. I'm a big mystic person, so I like mystic characters. So and I don't think as many people are as familiar with this character as they should be. So I'm gonna do Zatana, Zatana Zatara, the magnificent mistress magician. Well, actually, it's the magnificent mistress of magic, Zatana Zatara. And this is basically going to be who I would cast as her father, her and her father, if there was a Zatanna solo movie, and who I would cast as the main villain. And I'll get to who the villain is later on when I explain what I would want as the possible plot. So, let's start off by showing you a quick picture of Zatanna for those of you who aren't familiar with her. Alright, check it out. So yeah, there's a pic of Miss Z for those of you who aren't familiar with Zatanna. And basically, she is a magician, and a slash magical warrior. Her magic, she is descended from a race of magically inclined people called the Magi. And her main form of magic, she can do all types of magic, but her main form is backward speech. So all her spells are cast in backward speech. So basically, her main weakness is if you gag her and keep her from talking. Um, but who I would get to cast as Zatanna, I don't know if DC Warner Brothers and DC slash Warner Brothers has a big enough budget, but I think she would do an amazing job because especially after some of the stuff I've seen with her, she just gives me a Zatanna vibe. And of course, that actress would be Miss Penelope Cruz. Check her out. Take a good look. She definitely has like the Zatanna-esque look to her. And if you're not familiar with Miss Penelope Cruz, one of the most recent things that I can think of off the top of my head that she was in was Pirates of the Caribbean, the most recent one. She was Jack Sparrow's ex-girlfriend, the daughter of Blackbeard. I forget what the character's name was, but she can handle action very well. I think she would do a great version of Zatanna. I don't think she'd need the. I think they would do better with her if they went with her. I think it would do better if she went with the New 52 costume with possibly the hat. I mean, I was never really a big fan of the hat myself. Um, and the great Paul Dini, writer of Batman the Animated Series and other, great animated shows, he actually wrote a Zatanna solo comic in 2010, 2011. I'm pretty sure I was one of the only people that read it, but he wrote it, and it was really good. That's how I got really into Zatanna, and I think Penelope Cruz could really pull it off. In my opinion, she's a really good actress. she's not really too much of an A-lister, so they might be able to pull her, like especially in a star role, since a lot of people want superhero roles under their belt. I mean, they cast Halle Berry as Catwoman, so shit, they can get Penelope Cruz as Satana, and that'll definitely turn out better than Catwoman at least. Well, that's not really saying much, but still, I think she'd do a really good job. Now moving on to, of course, her father, who is an essential part of Zatana's character. Um, he was her mentor, and of course, he is known as the greatest magician of all time, Mr. John Zatara. For those of you who aren't familiar with John Zatara, he was featured in Young Justice because of course, a young, like a de-aged version of Zatanna is featured in Young Justice, and her father was in it as well. I'll show a picture of John Zatara right now so you can get a good look. Alright, check it out. Who would I get to play John Zatara? Well, when I had to think about this, it came to me relatively quickly. This guy has worked for DC slash Warner Brothers before in Batman Begins. You know, a little somebody named Ra's al Ghul played Ra's al Ghul slash Henry Ducard. I mean, he was using the alias Henry Ducard in the movie. But yeah, and of course, I'm talking about one of my personal favorite actors, Liam Neeson. If you guys aren't familiar with Liam Neeson, this dude is a badass. He played in Taken, played as Zeus in Clash of the Titans, he played in as Zeus again in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I'm not gonna talk about that. He played in the first movie version of Les Miserables. Um, he's just a really good actor, and he even has the um, look of John Zatara. Like they almost look identical. You just change him up a little bit, and he'd look like John Zatara. But you might want to not just take my word for it and see for yourself. I think he would do a great job as John Zatara. You just, have him fix up his mustache and beard a little bit, dye his hair black, have him slick it, put him in a tuxedo, and we've got John Zatara. Like I said, he'd play the fatherly role, which I think, at least in the first movie, I think I would want him. But I'll get into plot after I finish casting. He'd play, the fatherly role, the protective fatherly role in the first movie, and from what I've seen, he can play that very well, and I think he's a very commanding and powerful actor, and I think that would very much match John Zatara's presence, being as that John Zatara it was one of the most powerful magically inclined people in the DC universe before his death. And finally, the last person I'm going to cast is the villain. Now, coming up with a good villain for a Zatanna movie was really hard. I was trying to think. I was like, could I go Cersei? Could I go Brother Blood? And I was like, nah, Cersei seems too more of a Wonder Woman kind of thing. Brother Blood, maybe, but I just don't feel it. And then I was like, wait, I got it. Felix Faust. I think you know, he's touched on a lot in different like mediums like animation and in the comic. He's touched on in the comics a lot, but people never really take him seriously. I think very he's like a high B list magic villain. I believe he was even in the he was in the Justice League Dark Comics as a villain for like an arc, and then a pawn for like the next arc afterwards. So that just shows that he wasn't even really in charge. He was actually being manipulated. So he's not even really an A-list magical villain. So that's not like putting out a heavy hitter within the first movie. Um. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Felix Faust, here's a quick peek at what he looks like. Like I said, I think Felix Faust would be a good villain. I like Felix Faust as a villain. He obviously, he sold his soul to the devil, or I think tri- technically, Trigon. He sold his soul to Trigon, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I know he sold his soul to gain, occult knowledge, and so he's pretty much immortal, and he is a master of dark magic. I think he'd be a very good person for Zatana to go up against in her movie. She and I'll go into plot after I tell you who I cast for Felix Faust. Now, thinking about this, I was like, I need somebody who is good at playing a bad guy, but not just good at playing a bad guy, good at playing a charismatic bad guy, because Felix Faust is all about manipulating people, manipulating demons, using his magic for tools of manipulation for his own personal gain. And the way I saw it, I was like, I think I know it. This dude, um, it's kind of crossing the boundary here because he worked for Marvel on a certain movie, and he's coming back for the sequel. And of course, I'm talking about Michael Fassbender, who played young Magneto in X-Men First Class, and he's going to play young Magneto once again in X-Men First Class 2 Days of Future Past. Um, Let me go ahead and show you guys what he looks like. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Felix Faust is often portrayed as like an older guy, and Michael Fassbender is really young. But the way I see it is, he sold his soul, so he's pretty much immortal and a master of magic. So, of course, you could possibly de-age him, and it's not like a lot of people would be familiar with Faust. So you could do what you want. I mean, as long as he has the whole occult magic, demonic magic, and the use of manipulation through magical means, you pretty much got Felix Faust, with of course his traditional artifacts and such. Um, so now we get into the plot of this possible Zatana the movie. Um, the way I see it is we have it as we show a little bit of Zatana's training in the beginning with her father, and then it fast forwards to her as a grown woman. Um, I I know what you're thinking. Well, then who would you cast as young Zatana? You know what, guys? I'm just gonna focus on grown up Zatana because that's going to take. She is going to be a good 3/4 of the movie. So yeah. So basically, I'd kind of take a couple pages off of Paul Dini's comic, and it would be like Zatanna is a traveling stage magician, doing big performances from city to city all across the country. But at the same time, she is looking for disturbances within the mystic force, and actually that's how it's referred to a lot. And she senses a problem within the mystic universe, and she sees that maybe a large number of demons are being summoned, or like the number of cults are rising, and massive amounts of dark magic. She goes and investigates, and it's Felix Faust. Turns out it's Felix Faust, and he's in search of the book of the book of the Magi, or Meiji, however you pronounce it. I don't know. Which is actually in John Zatara's library. And the thing is, John never actually let Zatana fully study the book because he feels that she wasn't ready. She's too immature. She's too kind of showy with her powers. So he feels that she wouldn't be. He would feel that she isn't ready. But then, he gives it to her to put under his protection. Well, he's very reluctant to do it. So he's not. And so Faust breaks into Zatara's library, and they duke it out, and Faust kills him. Excuse me. Another big element of the movie that I would really love to see if they did this would be Zatara's library, because in the Zatana comic, Zatara's library was massive, and it was like a multi-dimensional library. Like you'd see like like actual books of magic to ancient scrolls of Merlin, and like it'd be like a whole just massive dimension, and they could do a lot of playing with special effects with that, and I think it'd be really cool visually to see. So basically, after John is killed, of course, Zatanna wants payback, but maybe she sees a vision of John, or John comes to her as a ghost, and he warns her about Faust's gain in power now that he observed the book and Zatanna's magic, and that he'd be familiar with their magical style and would be able to take her down relatively easy. And so Zatanna studies the book. She ups her game, and through sheer will, they have a duel. And then she just wipes the floor with him. Of course, she's one pissed that the initial encounter she was so easily taken down because all he had to do was gag her. Because of course, the first encounter she'd be all confident with her powers because she was trained by her father, the greatest magician of all time, and she's had all this practice with both stage magic and real magic. So, and then the second time comes around, he's killed her father, so now she's extra motivated, and so when they have their duel, after she's studied in Zatara's library, she just wipes the floor with him, and then bam, it's Zatana just growing as like one of the more powerful and more reliable sources of the DC mystic community, and that would possibly branch off into Justice League Dark, or maybe or maybe possibly she could have cameos within the Justice League movie, because keep in mind, some of you may not know, but Zatana and Bruce were actually very good friends. And this changed from time to time within continuity because all the different rewrites and crisis events. But generally speaking, Zatana and Bruce were childhood friends, and so they've always known each other for like such a long time. She knows he's Batman, and of course she's always willing to help him out. So like it would be logical to have her as a cameo, especially if they bring in a magical villain for the Justice League movie. Although I still am really looking forward to Justice League Dark because of Guillermo del Toro and like all the crazy fantastical stuff he can do. That's gonna be good. But that was my plot and casting for a Zatana solo movie. Um, Thanks Mount Vernon Kid for this awesome mission. Mission complete. This is J. Al Ghul for Dark Avenger Inc. Plus, signing off. And remember, guys, once a comic book geek, always a comic book geek. Alright, see you guys later. Peace.